Man, people are freaking hilarious. They will hate what they see in you because they know that they will never be what your light is shining and being. And it's almost like they are so passionate about wanting to be you that they almost want to be you, but also hate that they want to be you. And then in the end, you're just so passionate about who you are and where you're going in life that you are just trying to be the best version of yourself, and they just want to take that away from you. And the reason they want to take it away from you is because you're making them feel insecure. You're making them feel like the crab in the bucket that they are. They are only trying to bring you down to their level. And I don't know about you guys, but the only laws that I genuinely follow all the time is God's laws to the best of my ability. And I will follow the law in accordance to what is considered to be productive and useful, but there are going to be times when there are rules and not laws. And I'm not always going to follow the rules. You know, like Harry Potter and all of the good heroes that you can think of, Hercules or Poseidon, or all of these people never really followed the rules. They created their own rules, but they still had their morals and they still had their guidance, but they lived a free life. They lived a free life and they encouraged people to live freely as well. And that's what I'm going to do on this channel, because as we surpass people and make them feel like we are passing them up, it's because we are. And it's not because we hate these people. It's not because we don't want to see them succeed. It's just that they're blind. And they don't even see that they're blind. And so you can try to open their eyes. You can try to be the kind of person that they would like to look up to, but ultimately, if you're a hater, you're just going to hate. And I also want to lead into why this is one of the reasons I believe. I don't even like saying I believe in God per se. It's more of a commenter on my previous video asked if I could go into this more on my next video. So hopefully this commenter is listening. What I mean to say is that it boils down to the knowing from experience versus the believing and thinking about experience. So there's a difference between knowing from experience and a difference between believing about or thinking about experience. How can I convince you of something that you've not experienced and that you're not even open to experiencing? It's going to be very difficult for me to give you the sense of capacity for self-reflection on knowing God and understanding that God is real if you are not open to the experience of knowing. Well, how do you get to the experience of knowing, and how do you get to that openness to the experience of learning? Well, you have to realize when you're trying to ruin something good, like a lot of the haters do. The haters will try to ruin something good and then realize that they're the idiot and then get pissed off about it and stay bitter. Others will not understand the difference or exactly where grace and class comes from. Do you have grace? Do you have class? You know, obviously we have a inkling of what grace and class is. And I would argue that anybody that has experienced God understands grace and class. If you are trying to make disparaging comments to other people and you still don't believe or know about God or believe in God, I don't think that makes you a bad person or anything. I just think, well, how should I say this? It's more like if you know what grace and class, like you can know what grace and class is without knowing God. But if you're making disparaging comments, and I'm not saying this person in the commenters was doing this, I'm just saying if you're making disparaging comments towards other people, you're not going to understand what that grace and class feels like from the Most High, because you're not really allowing yourself the possibility to be open to it. And yeah, that sounds kind of cheesy, right? Like, oh, just open your heart to it. That's not what I'm saying. Because you can't think about this from a rational and logical perspective immediately. You have to have faith. Now, what is the difference between faith and logic? Faith comes from the sense of, I trust when I do something, this will happen. A rational or deductive reasoning response would be, if I do this, then that will happen. Now, if I do that, that is a deductive statement. It's an assumption. If. Whereas faith is, when I do this, I trust that this will happen. Faith is going into the unknown, trusting that everything will be okay. Logic is knowing the facts of what will happen or what is happening and what has happened and what is as it is. So faith actually comes about through experiencing logic and having the capacity for reason. So I would actually argue that people that are the most reasonable are actually the ones that are most open to God, given the possibility and given the exemption from their intellect, that they are not holding their intellect higher than faith in the unknown. Well, how do you have faith in the unknown if you don't know what's going to happen? That's why it's called faith. You have to take that leap of faith, as Soren Kierkegaard calls it. Faith is a byproduct of itself. So it's actually part of understanding your haters and studying them and seeing where they're coming from, that you'll actually understand what it takes to be successful. And in your success, you will grow closer to that which is most high, God. Whether you are fully aware of that or not, because if you are growing closer to God, you're also growing closer to your own consciousness and you're being who you are. But, and there is a but, if here we go with the reason. If you are incapable of ascending and transmuting certain energy into something that is higher, you will not be able to understand or conceive beyond that which you can only assume. So if all you rely on is assumption-based logic, there's not going to be a lot of room for a possibility of faith. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And so the reason that haters actually hate on you is because you make them feel small. Because the closer you grow to God, the more light that you bring into the world, the more people are going to recognize that you're actually onto something. And the more they're going to want to tear you down. But sometimes, as I was just talking about on a consultation with someone just barely, sometimes you're in situations where all you can do is smile and walk away, because that means that you still have yourself, you still have your dignity, and like you just have to say, whatever, bro. Like, whatever. Sometimes it's just not worth your time. I'm not telling you guys to not stand up for what you think is right, because if you do think that something is right, then yeah, you absolutely must stand up for it. But there are going to be times where it's just the juice isn't worth the squeeze, so to speak. And so, is understanding God worth the squeeze? Yes, absolutely. But you have to be willing to taste the fruit that you've never tasted before. You know, there's a line in the Bible that Jesus says that whenever or whoever drinks the water that I give him will never be thirsty again. And what that really means is that once you've tasted the spirit of truth in your own spirit, you'll know truth when you taste it, and it'll taste good to you. But a lot of the times, as there are some quotes on the internet, I don't remember who says it exactly, but there are some people that will say that, you know, the truth is hate to the people that don't understand the truth. And so you have to keep that in mind as you're dealing with haters. Because as you surpass, as you pass them up, they're going to want to try to bring you down. And I've experienced this not so much within the last couple weeks, but in the last couple days, it's been pretty heavy. I swear there's just something new every day that pops up on my radar. Like, I'm just always ready for something to happen. It is that dog mentality of just being alert and understanding, like, what rules are worth following and what rules can you bend in your situation. I'm not saying don't follow the law. That's not what I'm saying, as far as like the legal law goes. But like, if there's rules like somebody just created out of thin air, like, whatever, dude. Whatever. I didn't know we could just make up rules nowadays. And I don't like petty people. That's another thing. God hates petty people because they don't try. God hates people that are lazy in certain ways. You may be a hard worker in the gym. You may be a hard worker at your job. You may be a hard worker in your relationships. But if you do not have balance in other ways, something's going to suffer. And if you see somebody that is actually making it in certain ways that you're not, well, you can do one of two things. You can hate and declare yourself to the world to be the idiot that you are, even though they don't even realize that's what they're doing. Or number two, you can say, wow, maybe I have something to learn from this person. Maybe they know something that I don't. And if you're humble, God will be with you. Humbleness is also a byproduct of being closer to God. And so, by following God's laws, you will naturally have a profound sense of humility and gratitude in your life instilled within you. So I think I've said everything that I want to say. I hope I was able to wrap all of the topics into a concise explanation of some kind for you guys to understand. And to remember that if you actually have haters in your life, that's a sign that you're doing something right and that you're elevating. In fact, nowadays, whenever I do get hate, I'm like, oh, something's coming, some blessing's coming. Like, I just get kind of excited because, like, yeah, it sucks in the moment to feel that kind of hate. Like, just like, wow, these guys, like, it's crazy. Y'all are crazy out here. Like, y'all are tripping. But it's also nice because you know God's about to bless you and this is a test. And if you can pass the test, you are on your way to greener pastures. So, with that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful. And until next time, peace be with you.